It's Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here at 5th and State. We want to welcome back Matt Bauer of Bauer Specialty and Gutter Solutions of Erie. Matt, good to see you. Appreciate it.
Nice to see you. Thank you.
What a gorgeous day. You know, we're going to talk a little bit about what to do when it's not so gorgeous, but give us an update on your business. We love to hear how entrepreneurs are doing, and you've been really you've been thriving in this post-COVID era, haven't you?
Oh yeah, things are. I mean, I guess it depends what your definition of thriving. We're extremely busy.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
and I like to be more productive than busy, but it's, I mean, just home improvements. A lot of people need home improvements. That's for sure.
Is it because our town is, we don't build a lot of new houses anymore? Is it that people are trying to get the most out of that mid-century modern house that they have?
Well, I would say especially this year, it's the winter we went through. And a lot of people had their gutters damaged, maybe their fascia and soffit ripped off. My guys are telling me it's not so many complete remodels as it is going out and repairing. And then roof-wise, I mean, we've had multiple hailstorms. In fact, one of my office buildings got hit with hail.
Really?
And we had damage to our shingles, which isn't always, noticeable just by the eye. But after, being in this industry and understanding more and more, and I had a picture of when it was hailing. I'm sitting in my office, photographing and videotaping the hail that was coming down a year or two ago. And I decided, hey, I might as well look and see if the shingle, the integrity of the shingle was damaged. And I got up there and I sure as heck thought it was.
Really?
So I called our insurance company, and they sent a guy out, and it's like every facet of the roof, no problem. They do a 10 by 10 area, and you got to have 10 damages within that. And it's not always like if you just stood there and look at it, you can't always just tell. But as that hail beats on those shingles, they're not going to be the same. It's not the shingle that somebody warranted that they put on your roof. So we just got our whole office complex roof replaced.
Wow.
But I think it's just the weather that we've had. It seems like a lot of people are talking about the damage, and then once they do, part of the gutter system, part of the fascia and soffit, part of the roof, they decide to do the whole thing.
It's funny. We'll give like a forecast, and it'll be some kind of high wind warning and something. Oh, gusts up to 60, 75 miles an hour is like 10 miles an hour short of a hurricane. You know what I mean? I mean, an EF or a hurricane, a 1 degree hurricane is what, 80 miles an hour or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not a hurricane expert. I know
but
it's a lot of wind.
That's a lot of wind.
Right. Yeah. I don't want to be out in it. We were out at a golfing event the other day, and you could just see it coming on Friday, that weather that we got pounded with. And I kept telling them, like, can we just please go in? Like, let's go. And they wanted to finish the hole, So that started coming down sideways. The temperature dropped 10 degrees, and you're like, I got to get out of here. But it's like that weather that we get. It's not always long and sustained, but we get those bursts of weather that cause damage.
Go back to like the hail. What, how would you know whether the integrity of the shingle, I mean, short of seeing a leak the next time it rains, how do you determine that whole thing?
Well, it's really hard for somebody that's not like educated in it to understand. It's the pounding of that hail. So if you get like half-inch or greater size hail, and you got to think, if that's coming down and that's denting up your car or damaging something else, what is it doing to those shingles?
Right.
And it's, and they're totally exposed, they're out there. So if you think, or if you were in that path, you should be calling us and let us come out and look at it and at least make the determination or help you make the determination if it's something that you want to take care of. But
you mentioned that, what I've been seeing on my walks is, siding is coming off, especially because of a windstorm or whatever. You notice that the gutters start hanging or whatever. But like, you might have just done that job 5-10 years ago, but I guess that's in perfect conditions. Or are you expecting that to?
Well, we had
right?
people that did their projects, like a new gutter fascia soffit project, maybe just last fall. I know there were some that did gutters just last fall, and then the amount of snow that we got in that short period of time, and it stays cold. That's what creates the ice dams, especially if you have heat loss coming through your roof. And when you make those mammoth icicles, they're going to do damage. That's the amount of weight that gets up there is just tremendous. So, yeah, aluminum gutters aren't made to stand up to thousands and thousands of pounds of ice.
Yeah, see, how easy we forget, right? Because it's 80 degrees out. That we were probably, had those big icicles hanging down off our shingle.
Not long ago, right?
Absolutely.
It just started to get warm. I mean, this year is totally different.
I had my furnace on into June, which is insane,
Yeah. No, I get you.
Yeah.
You know, what we're really trying to concentrate on now is the fact that when that raindrop or that water hits your roof, we want to handle that water in any way, shape, or form that we can until it gets out of the drain line. So off the roof, get it into the gutter, make sure that gutter is functioning properly, get that water down the downspout, get it into the drain line, because we don't want to have to deal with the damage that it does. And until you have to go through that, you don't really realize what's happening. When your gutter gets tore open and the water's just dripping into your landscaping, it's coming into your basement. The amount of damage and destruction and inconvenience it creates is just too much to have to deal with.
Are you finding that leads to mold issues and puddled water in the basement and that kind of thing?
It can deal with a lot of stuff. We just picked up a house for my son. It's a rehab. But one of the things is we went down in the basement and part of the basement was finished. Well, we're ripping the whole thing apart because the water, number one, the gutters were horrible. So the water's leaking down in the driveway. The concrete's pitched the wrong way, so the water's coming back to the house. The drains for the downspouts got ripped out, so the water's going down these holes that are just in the concrete, and it's coming into the basement, so it soaked the framing, soaked the drywall, soaked the insulation, so we're ripping all that out, going to clean it out, take out the driveway, re-pour the driveway, run new drain lines, put up new gutters, so by the time we're done, he's not going to have to deal with that again.
Wow. Talk about, you do a lot with insulation and things. People don't think about insulation in the summertime unless they have air conditioning, and central air obviously is pretty predominant these days. What should people be looking for as issues in an air conditioning time of year?
Well, even if you don't have air conditioning, when it gets hot out, and that second floor of your house or your living area is way hotter than maybe the first floor.
Sure.
I was just explaining this to someone over and over and over again that helps with advertising, and she was like, this makes sense now why my second floor is so much warmer than my first floor. When you're not properly insulated and that sun is beating on your roof all day, that heat's coming into that space. If we don't separate the unconditioned space from the conditioned space, it starts to heat that up. It's very uncomfortable.
No doubt.
Right?
No doubt. Yeah.
That's the time you want to get it properly insulated. I want to be able to sleep at night.
Sure.
And my air conditioner
Right.
shut off once in a while.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure. The have they changed the, talk about that technology. You do a lot with blown in insulation, but you have a few different choices.
Well,
don't you?
our biggest thing, and what I always say, is we love spray foam insulation.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's you can put it basically anywhere. It sticks, so we don't have to artificially hang it or install it. And it takes care of multiple sins because it insulates and air seals all in one step. So we can come out, look at a house, and determine, hey, you want your thermal boundary where? What are the problems we're trying to solve? And typically, as long as we can get to the area, we can fix it with spray foam.
I think you taught me, too, about this condition that will happen if it's too tight. You get that condensation. Can you talk a little bit about that? And does that happen in the summer, or is that more of a winter thing?
That's more of a winter thing, but the condensation is really a function more of warm, moist air getting into what we would call a unconditioned area, and like warm, moist air hitting a cold surface, and then condensation forms, and there's no way to dry it out. So in the winter, this happens in an attic that's not properly insulated. So if you don't seal the air up from being able to come out of your like second floor into the attic, when that warm, moist air hits those cold roofing nails coming through, when it's 10 degrees out, they're going to condensate. Once moisture forms, now mold and mildew can form. So when we can go into a house and we can spray foam the roof deck, we eliminate that condensating surface. So now if that warm, moist air gets up there, it is not hitting anything that'll allow it to condensate.
So it's very, again, think about the typical house built in 75 or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
More than likely, they insulated what?
The flat. We call that the flat, yeah.
They didn't insulate into the rafters.
No. And
you prefer the rafters on the roof?
In most instances, if you're going to insulate the flat, and this is the part that most people miss. So if you just go to Lowe's or Home Depot and you're going to rent a machine and blow some extra stuff in there, well, number one, that stuff does not stop the movement of air, right? So you have to manually go around and seal up every hole in that attic, every wire, every pipe that comes through there, because there's little holes that they come through. Those holes will allow warm air to come up, because heat, the dominant force is heat goes to cold. Cold doesn't go to heat. Okay. So when that warm, moist air gets through any of those holes, any penetration, usually the hatch going into the attic isn't insulated.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's like a piece of wood or drywall. Well, that's not stopping.
Well, it's got sometimes it has a ladder on top of it.
Sometimes it's got, a ladder, but those aren't typically insulated, right?
No, not at all. Yeah.
No. So that you're allowing warm air to get up
it's like
there.
You have a pipe.
When you start to add all those little holes up, they become very significant. It's almost like you leaving half of a window open.
Sure.
So that's the difference. If you want to go up there and manually do that, which we do that, fill up all those little cracks, crevices, holes around your chimney, make sure your bath fans are vented properly. You know how many people just vent the bath fan into the attic, which is
That's insane, isn't it?
We see it all the time. Or there is no vent. It's just a bath fan, and it's not going anywhere. So it's just blowing warm, moist air into the attic. I just met a guy the other day, and he couldn't believe it when I told him, like, on average, you should leave those bath fans run for about 45 minutes to get all that moisture out of the bathroom. Because if not, we're leaving that moisture in the air. We're increasing the humidity level in our living space.
I don't think people know that at all. Matt Bauer is with us from Bauer Specialty. I want to ask you about the gutters thing, but I've noticed that, boy, there's a lot of talk about gutter covers and all the different technologies. Tell us about the technologies you guys use at Gutter Solutions.
Well, and I listened to a podcast the other day, and the guy was talking about how many different options there are, and it's somewhat confusing, right?
Sure, yeah.
Well, it's just like saying, people that live in different areas have different problems. So do you have pine needles? Do you have helicopters? Do you have leaves? What is the issue? So there are some products that I feel like, one size kind of fits all. But for some do-it-yourselfers, if I got leaves, well, you don't need something that's going to stop pine needles necessarily. We use a product called Clean Gutter, and it's a micro mesh, and it does a great job because there are no holes for anything to get in. So you don't have to worry about bees or critters or squirrels up in your gutter. They're not getting in because it's just the amount of how big the hole is tiny. It's like a screen on a window.
Gotcha.
And, a lot of these people that are in the industry use one product and find, okay, it works great 90% of the time, but this 10%, we have this problem. So we're going to go develop something even better. So they keep trying to come out with a better and better mousetrap, to solve the same problem. And a lot of people have the issue. Who wants to clean their gutters?
Right.
I just went and looked at a building the other day, and we had walked through it when it was, it's a warehouse, when it was raining out, and it was leaking everywhere. Well, you go up onto the roof, and one of the biggest problems is they don't clean their gutters. So no wonder it's leaking, because everything's backing up because they're not allowing the water to get down the downspouts.
Is this something relatively new, Matt? Because I never heard about, a gutter cover. till about maybe 10 years ago or so.
Well, I think, you had the regular screens and you had different plastic things that went on there, and there were all kinds of different things. I mean, I was doing a lot of roofing when I was in my 20s, and people would always say, hey, do you have a waste well enough to clean my gutters? I'm 54 now, so that was like 30 years ago.
Right.
So I think this has been an issue. And people don't really notice it until it's a problem. When they start overflowing, or your basement's getting wet, or you look up and there's trees growing out of your gutter. It's just something we're not looking at every day, but it should be something that people are addressing at least twice a year. If you're not going to cover them, making sure those things are clean. So before we get to the winter, or before we get to the huge thunderstorm that's going to cause a problem, you've already taken care of it. Nowadays, I think maintenance on homes and properties is a much bigger deal, especially I've been watching all these videos on YouTube about how to take care of an air conditioning unit or a heater or all these things. You can go pay a lot of money for this stuff. If you don't take care of it, you're just going to be paying a lot of money again. You have to understand how to maintain the things that you have, especially on a home.
That really comes to return on investment too, right?
Sure.
I mean, when you think about now more than ever, homes in Erie County are selling much higher than they ever have. Right? I mean, you just went shopping for a house, right? For your son?
For my son. It was crazy. It's like, we'd go look at something and he'd be like, okay, Dad, this one's $150, and you'd get there and they'd bid it up to like $200,000. And I can't tell you that we ever walked into anything that I thought like, oh, this is one that was totally taken care of. It's in great shape. We'd go in and, you just start naming all the things that need done, or you can tell weren't professionally taken care of. Yeah, you're going to spend that much money. You got to put aside so much a year to take care of it. If you're not budgeting 3 to 5% of the value of your home for capital improvements every year, you're going to run into some bad experiences.
Amazing. One last question for Matt Bauer. I want to ask you, Matt Bauer, about when there is that emergency. A big tree branch just comes down on your garage roof, or your, God forbid, your main house.
Sure.
Or you have stuff that's, the gutter's just coming down, or your soffit blows up. How do you guys approach emergencies?
Well, we try to get out to most emergencies as quickly as we can. Excuse me. Unfortunately, in this day and age, we're 8 to 10 weeks out on just trying to get gutters installed at some time, because there is such a demand out there. But if people call, we'd do our darndest to get right out there.
At least to get something secured.
And if as you drive around Erie, it's amazing how many places you go by and it'll be a roof with some ice and water guard in one area, because you can tell they had a problem. Somebody came out and patched it, and now they're on the list to get fixed,
Gotcha.
Or you can see a gutter was laying on the ground. They temporarily tacked it up there till they can get their crews over there to get it installed. And we're running 3, 4, 5 gutter crews every day, and just trying to keep up is crazy.
Well, good for you. Great to see you again.
Thank you.
Matt Bauer from Bauer Specialty and Gutter Solutions of Erie. Appreciate you so much. And thanks for keeping us. I feel like it's keeping us safe, keeping our homes healthy, because that's the other part of this, right?
Well, we want to help people take care of their homes. I mean, you buy a home, you want to be proud of your house. You want to make sure it's put together the right way. It is an investment, and I think, if you can make the determination to do the right thing now, it's going to cost you a heck of a lot less than it is 5 or 10 years from now.
It's like that old Fram commercial. You can pay me now or pay me later.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much, Matt. We've got 3:53 here on Talk Erie.